Welcome, traveler, and find a place to rest your weary mind. Leave the clamor of the modern world far behind as we journey back in time, back to an age of ice and stars, a time of profound silence and raw, untamed beauty. Our journey takes us to the late Pleistocene epoch, roughly 13,000 years ago. The great ice sheets that once covered much of the northern hemisphere are in retreat, but the world is still a cold, wild place. The air is thin, crisp, and carries the scent of pine and damp earth, a purity unknown to us today. Imagine yourself here, standing on the edge of a vast, sweeping plain under a sky ablaze with a billion stars. The Milky Way is a brilliant, shimmering river of light, unobscured by the glow of cities. Constellations you might recognize burn with an intensity you be never shone, ancient and eternal. Tonight, the moon is a slender, silver crescent, casting a gentle, ethereal glow upon the landscape. It illuminates a world painted in shades of blue and silver. The plain stretches out before you, a mosaic of hardy grasses, low-lying shrubs, and patches of resilient moss, all dusted with a delicate layer of frost that crunches softly underfoot. In the distance, the dark, jagged silhouettes of colossal mountains rise against the star-dusted sky, their peaks still crowned with ancient glaciers that gleam faintly in the moonlight. These are the silent sentinels of this primal world, witnesses to the endless cycle of seasons and the quiet dramas of life and survival. A broad Slamovan river snakes its way across the plain, its dark waters reflecting the celestial dance above. The current is gentle, a quiet, constant whisper in the profound stillness of the night. Along its banks, stands of hardy birch and willow trees huddle together, their bare branches like intricate lacework against the luminous sky. Here, by a gentle bend in the river, a small group of hunters has made their camp for the night. They are our distant ancestors, the first people to walk these lands. They have chosen their spot well, sheltered by a low, rocky outcrop that offers protection from the persistent wind that sweeps across the open plains. At the heart of their small encampment, a fire burns. It is not a raging bonfire, but a small, carefully tended flame. It crackles and spits softly, a warm, living heart in the cold expanse. The flames danced with hypnotic grace, casting shifting shadows that play upon the weathered faces of the hunters and the smooth, gray stones of the riverbank. The scent of wood smoke, rich and comforting, hangs in the air, a beacon of warmth and safety in the vast wilderness. The hunters are gathered close, wrapped in thick furs of bear and bison. Their boat is tired from a long day's journey. They are a family, a small band bound by kinship and the shared necessity of survival. There are perhaps a dozen of them in total. An old man, his face a roadmap of a long and challenging life, stares into the flames, his thoughts his own. His eyes hold the wisdom of countless seasons, of hunts successful and failed, of joy and of loss. Near him, a young mother cradles her sleeping child, humming a low, soothing melody that blends seamlessly with the crackling of the fire and the murmur of the river. Her song is ancient, a lullaby passed down through generations, a thread of continuity in a world of constant change. A few younger men lie resting, their strong bodies still and relaxed. Their hunting spears, tipped with exquisitely crafted flint points, are propped nearby, always within reach. Their day was spent tracking the great beasts of this earth, a woolly mammoth, the giant bison, the swift-footed horse. It is a life of constant vigilance. But tonight, there is peace. The day's hardships are forgotten, replaced by the simple comfort of a warm fire, a full belly from the day's catch, and the companionship of their kin. Listen closely. Beyond the soft crackle of the fire, the world is filled with a symphony of subtle sounds. The gentle gurgle of the river as it flows over smooth stones, the sigh of the wind as it rustles through the dry grasses on the plain. Far and away, so faint you might think you imagined it, the lonely howl of a wolf echoes across the frozen landscape. It is not a sound of menace, but simply a part of the natural chorus of the night, a reminder that they are not alone in this vast, wild world. The hunters are undisturbed. They know these sounds as well as they know their own heartbeats. They are part of this world, not separate from it. They understand its rhythms, its dangers, and its gifts. Their senses are attuned to the slightest shift in the wind, the faintest sound on the breeze. It is this deep connection to their environment that allows them to survive, to thrive, in a world that is both breathtakingly beautiful and unforgivingly harsh. The air itself feels different here. It is so cold it feels sharp and clean in your lungs with every breath you take. It carries no pollutants, no artificial scents, only the pure, raw perfume of the natural world. Breathe in the scent of damp earth, of cold stone, of distant pine forests. Feel the chill on your skin, a bracing sensation that makes you feel alive and intensely present. The hunters huddle closer to the fire, pulling their furs tighter around their shoulders. The warmth of the flames is a stark contrast to the biting cold of the night, a small island of comfort in an ocean of chill. The flickering light illuminates their faces, revealing expressions of quiet contemplation and deep-seated resilience. They do not speak much. Words are used sparingly, reserved for what is necessary. Their communication is often one of shared glances, of subtle gestures, a deep, unspoken understanding that has been forged in the crucible of a shared life. They are a part of the silence, not an intrusion upon it. As the night deepens, a profound sense of peace settles over the small camp. The stars continue their slow, majestic procession across the heavens. The fire dwindles to a bed of glowing embers, pulsing with a soft, orange light. The rhythmic breathing of the sleeping hunters is the only sound that breaks the stillness. One by one, they have succumbed to the deep, restorative sleep that follows a day of hard physical exertion. The young mother holds her child close, her own head now resting against the shoulder of her partner. The old man is the last to remain awake, his gaze still fixed on the dying embers, his mind perhaps wandering through the landscapes of memory. He's the guardian of the fire, the keeper of the watch, a silent protector of his family. His presence is a comforting anchor in the vast, dark night. This is a moment of pure tranquility, a snapshot of life as it was lived for thousands upon thousands of years. A life lived in harmony with the cycles of the sun and moon, the ebb and flow of the seasons. Let this scene of ancient peace wash over you. Let the gentle sounds of the night soothe your mind. The soft crackle of the fire, the whisper of the river, the vast, silent presence of the starlit sky. Allow yourself to sink into this deep, primal calm. There are no demands here, no deadlines, no distractions. There is only the here and now, the warmth of the fire, the chill of the air, the steady beat of your own heart. Feel the weight of the day lift from your shoulders. Feel your muscles relax, your breathing slow and deepen. You are safe here, in this quiet moment, frozen in time. This is a place of rest, of renewal, a place where the soul can find stillness. As the last embers of the fire glow softly in the darkness, and the hunters sleep soundly under the watchful eyes of the ancient stars, allow yourself to drift away. Let the deep peace of this Pleistocene night guide you into a restful, dream-filled sleep. Good night. Thank you for joining this journey. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more chapters of our story. The sun dips below the horizon, painting the sky in fiery hues of orange and purple. Down in the valley, a new light begins to flicker, a beacon of warmth and life against the encroaching dusk. This is our camp, a circle of humanity carved out of the wilderness. The air is thick with the scent of wood smoke, roasting meat, and the earthy aroma of damp soil. As darkness settles, the central campfire roars to life, its flames dancing and casting long, flickering shadows that play upon the walls of our makeshift homes. These shelters, crafted from sturdy branches and draped with thick animal hides, stand in a protective semicircle. The skins, painstakingly scraped and cured, are stitched together with sinew, forming a barrier against the night's chill and any unwelcome visitors. From a distance, they might look like sleeping beasts, hunched and silent, their rounded forms glowing in the firelight. Inside each shelter, the ground is softened with layers of dried grasses and furs, creating a warm, inviting nest. Personal belongings are few but precious: a spare flint knife, a pouch of medicinal herbs, a small carving of a spirit animal. These are our homes, humble yet secure, the heart of our small, nomadic community. Just beyond the ring of shelters, our resources are laid out with practiced order. Stacks of firewood, gathered during the day's foraging, are piled high. We have sorted them by size slender twigs and kindling for starting the fire, thicker branches for a steady burn, and hefty logs to keep the embers glowing through the long night. This wood is our lifeline, the fuel that provides not just warmth, but also protection and the means to cook our food. Near the wood piles stand the drying racks. These simple but ingenious structures are made from polis, from which hang long, thin strips of meat from our recent hunt. The heat from the fire and the cool night air work together, slowly curing the flesh, preserving it for the lean days ahead. The fat drips and sizzles as it falls, adding another layer to the symphony of scents that fills our camp. Each strip represents a future meal, a promise of sustenance that allows us to rest easy. Our tools, the instruments of our survival, are arranged with care near the fire's edge, where they can be easily seen and reached. Spears with fire-hardened tips lean against a large boulder. Stone-tipped arrows are bundled together, their fletching neat in uniform. Flint knives, adzes, and scrapers are laid out on a flat rock, their sharp edges glinting in the firelight. Each tool is a testament to our ingenuity, a product of generations of knowledge passed down. They are extensions of our own hands, and we treat them with the respect they deserve. The camp is a microcosm of our society, organized, efficient, and cooperative. Every member knows their role. Every task is performed with a sense of shared purpose. The children, their eyes wide with a mixture of excitement and reverence, help by fetching water from the nearby stream in clay pots. The women tend to the hides, their hands moving with a fluid grace, born of long practice. The younger hunters check the snares and traps set at the perimeter of the camp, and at the very center of it all, bathed in the warmest glow of the fire, sits the elder. His name is Kale, and his face is a roadmap of a life lived in harmony and struggle with the land. Deep lines are etched around his eyes and mouth, each one a story, a lesson, a memory. His hair is the color of winter frost, and his hands, though gnarled with age, are steady. Tonight, he is not just resting. He is preparing. Before him, on a worn piece of leather, are the tools of a teacher. A smooth, flat stone and a piece of charcoal for drawing. A selection of different arrowheads, each designed for a different purpose. A small, intricately carved bone flute. The younger hunters, their bellies full and their daily chores complete, begin to gather around him. They sit on the ground, their faces upturned, their expressions a blend of respect and eager anticipation. The crackling of the fire is the only sound for a moment, a rhythmic percussion against the vast silence of the night. The stars have begun to appear, a glittering canopy above us. Kale clears his throat, and the soft, gravelly sound commands immediate attention. The circle of young faces leans in closer, their shadows merging into one. He begins to speak, his voice a low, resonant hum that seems to rise from the earth itself. He doesn't start with a grand pronouncement, but with a simple question, his eyes twinkling as he looks at each of them in turn. He speaks of the wind, and how to read its direction from the whisper of the leaves. He talks about the tracks of the deer, and how to tell the age and health of the animal from the depth of its hoof prints. He picks up the charcoal and begins to draw on the stone, his hands moving with an artist's precision. He sketches the anatomy of a great bison, pointing out the vital areas, the places where a single, well-aimed spear can bring the mighty beast down. He explains the importance of patience, of waiting for the perfect moment to strike. His words are not just instructions. They are woven with stories of great hunts from the past, tales of courage, failure, and triumph. The young hunters listen, their minds absorbing every word, every gesture. This is their education. There are no classrooms, no books. There is only the fire, the elder, and the collective wisdom of the tribe. They learn not just how to hunt, but why they hunt: for sustenance, for the community, with respect for the animal that gives its life. As the moon climbs higher in the sky, Kale's lesson shifts. He speaks of the stars, the celestial hunters that wheel across the heavens. He points out the constellations that guide them on their journeys, the patterns that signal the changing of the seasons. He teaches them the songs that honor the spirits of the forest, the chants that are sung before a hunt, to ask for bravery and success. He picks up the bone flute, and a haunting, beautiful melody fills the air. It is a song that speaks of the cycle of life and death, of the bond between the hunter and the hunted, of the deep, spiritual connection to the world around them. The music winds its way through the camp, a lullaby for the soul, a reminder of their place in the grand tapestry of existence. The fire begins to die down, its once roaring flames now gentle, pulsating embers. The lesson is coming to an end. The young hunter's eyes are heavy with sleep, but their minds are alight with new knowledge. They look at the elder with a renewed sense of awe and gratitude. They are the future, and he has just entrusted them with the past. One by one, they rise and retreat to their shelters, their hearts and minds full. Kale remains by the fire, a solitary, timeless figure. He adds a large log to the embers, ensuring the flame will last until morning. He looks out into the darkness, his gaze sweeping over the sleeping camp, a silent guardian watching over his people. The firelight illuminates a quiet smile on his face. The circle is complete. The knowledge has been passed. The tribe will endure. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this journey into the past, please like and subscribe for more stories. Hello and welcome back to our journey into the Ice Age. In our last chapter, we explored the vast, frozen landscapes our ancestors called home. Today, we're re-zooming in on a piece of technology that was absolutely crucial for their survival. The stone spear point. Imagined trying to survive in a world dominated by megafauna. We're talking about woolly mammoths, towering bison, and massive herds of caribou. These animals weren't just scenery. They were the key to life. Their meat provided food, their hides offered clothing and shelter, and their bones could be fashioned into tools and even art. But how did small groups of humans manage to hunt these powerful creatures? The answer lies in their ingenuity and a revolutionary invention. Before sophisticated spear points, hunting was incredibly dangerous. Early humans might have used sharpened wooden sticks or simple, crudely pointed stones. This meant getting dangerously close to their prey, risking being trampled or gored. A failed hunt didn't just mean going hungry. It could mean serious injury or death, a devastating blow to a small, close-knit group. This is where the stone spear point changed everything. It was more than just a sharp rock. It was a technological leap forward. By attaching a carefully crafted stone point to a long wooden shaft, hunters could create a weapon with far greater penetrating power. This allowed them to hunt more effectively and from a safer distance. A well-aimed spear could pierce the thick hide of a bison or find a vital spot on a mammoth. It was the great equalizer, turning a dangerous gamble into a calculated strategy. But these points weren't just for hunting. In a world without walls or police, a spear was also the primary tool for defense. Whether facing a predatory cave lion or rival human groups competing for scarce resources, the spear was a powerful deterrent. It protected the family, the camp, and the community. Having a group of hunters armed with effective spears meant security. It meant the difference between surviving another day and total disaster. In essence, the spear point was the key to both providing for and protecting the group. The process of making these points, known as Flintknapping, was an art form in itself. It required immense skill, patience, and a deep understanding of the stone. An expert knapper could look at a piece of flint or chert and see the finished point hidden within. They would use a hammerstone, often a hard, rounded river cobble, to strike the edge of the core stone, breaking off large flakes. This initial stage was about roughing out the basic shape. Then, the detailed work began. Using a softer tool, like a piece of antler or bone, the napper would apply precise pressure to the edges of the roughed-out shape. This technique, called pressure flaking, allowed them to remove tiny, thin flakes, carefully shaping the point and sharpening its edges to a razor-like finish. It was a delicate process. A single misplaced strike or too much pressure could shatter the point, wasting hours of work and valuable material. Each finished point was a testament to the maker's skill and knowledge, passed down through generations. Now, among the many types of spear points created during the Ice Age, one stands out for its elegance, sophistication, and sheer genius. It's a design so unique and advanced that it continues to fascinate archaeologists today. This is the fluted point. What makes a fluted point so special? Imagine a beautifully crafted, leaf-shaped spear point, thin and symmetrical. Now, picture a long, shallow channel running up the center of the point from its base, almost like a groove. This channel is called a flute. The napper created this by removing one final, long, and incredibly difficult to make flake from each face of the point. Why go to all this trouble? This flute wasn't just for decoration. It was a brilliant feat of engineering. This channel at the base made the point thinner, allowing it to be inserted more securely into a slot at the end of a wooden or bone spear shaft. This created an incredibly strong and reliable connection between the point and the shaft. When the spear struck its target, the force was distributed more evenly, reducing the chance of the point breaking or wobbling. It was a sleek, aerodynamic, and deadly effective design. The creation of a fluted point was the pinnacle of Ice Age flintknapping. It required a level of skill that was nothing short of masterful. The final strike to create the flute was the riskiest part of the entire process. The napper had to strike the base with perfect precision and force. A slight error could snap the nearly finished point in two. The fact that so many of these perfect points have been found tells us that these ancient people were true masters of their craft. When you hold a fluted point in your hand, you're not just holding a rock. You are holding a masterpiece of ancient technology. It represents a deep understanding of physics, materials science, and the art of survival. It's a symbol of human ingenuity, proving that even in the harshest of environments, our ancestors were not just surviving. They were innovating, creating, and thriving. The spear point, and especially the sophisticated fluted point, was a game changer. It empowered Ice Age people, allowing them to become the apex predators of their world. It fueled their expansion across continents and laid the groundwork for future technological advancements. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes the smallest objects can have the biggest impact on the course of human history. Thank you so much for joining me for this deep dive into the importance of the spear point. I hope you found it as fascinating as I do. In our next chapter, we'll explore the incredible art our ancestors left behind on cave walls. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss it. See you next time. Welcome back to our journey into the world of Paleoindian. Today, we're diving deep, literally, into the ground beneath their feet. We're talking about the rocks that made their survival possible. Flint, chert, and obsidian. These weren't just any stones. They were the high-tech materials of the Stone Age, the very foundation of their culture. Why these specific stones? What made them so special that people would travel hundreds of miles, crossing rivers and mountains, just to find them? Let's uncover the geology behind the genius of ancient tool-making. Imagine you're a Paleoindian hunter. Your life, and the survival of your family, depends on the quality of your tools. You can't just pick up any old rock. You need something that can be shaped with precision, hold a razor-sharp edge, and withstand the impact of a hunt. This is where the magic of geology comes in. Flint, chert, and obsidian have a unique property called conchoidal fracture. It's a fun word, but what does it mean? It means when you strike them in just the right way, they break like glass, creating smooth, curved surfaces that are incredibly sharp. Think about a broken bottle. That sharp edge is a perfect example of conchoidal fracture. This property is what allowed Paleoindians to become master craftsmen, creating tools with predictable and controllable shapes. So, what are these wonder rocks, really? Let's start with chert and flint. Geologically, they're very similar. Both are microcrystalline quartz, meaning they're made of tiny quartz crystals packed together so tightly you can't see them with the naked eye. This dense, uniform structure is key. It's what allows the force of a strike to travel smoothly through the stone, creating those clean breaks. They form in sedimentary rocks, often in marine environments from millions of years ago. Imagine ancient seabeds where the silica-rich skeletons of tiny organisms like diatoms and radiolarians accumulated over eons. Over millions of years, pressure and chemical changes transformed this silica ooze into hard, dense nodules and layers of chert and flint. Flint is often considered a high-quality variety of chert. It is typically found in chalk or limestone formations and tends to be darker in color shades of gray, brown, and black. If you were to hold a piece of high-grit flint, it would feel cool and smooth, almost waxy to the touch. It has a fine grain that allows for incredible detail work. Chert, on the other hand, comes in a wider rainbow of colors. You can find beautiful reds, yellows, greens, and whites, often swirled together in stunning patterns. These colors come from mineral impurities trapped during its formation. The texture can vary a bit more than flint, from glossy and fin-grained to a duller, more porous feel. For a Paleoindian toolmaker, knowing the difference wasn't just about aesthetics. A finer grain meant a sharper, more durable edge. Now, let's talk about the superstar of Stone Age toolmaking, obsidian. Obsidian isn't a mineral. It's volcanic glass. It forms when silica-rich lava cools so rapidly that crystals don't have time to grow. The result is a natural glass, usually jet black, but it can also be found with reddish streaks, called mahogany obsidian, or even with a beautiful, iridescent sheen, known as rainbow obsidian. Holding a piece of obsidian is an experience. It's cool, glassy, and surprisingly light, but its true power is in its sharpness. When flaked, obsidian can produce an edge that is sharper than a modern surgical scalpel. We're talking about an edge that is only a few molecules thick. For tasks requiring extreme precision, like fine cutting or surgery-like procedures, nothing else came close. The downside? Obsidian is more brittle than chert or flint. An obsidian spear point might shatter on impact with bone, whereas a chert point might just chip and could be reworked. So, there was a trade-off. Ultimate sharpness versus durability. The quest for these materials was an epic endeavor. These high-quality stones weren't scattered everywhere. They were found in specific geological deposits, or quarries, that became incredibly important centers of activity. Archaeologists have traced stone tools found at ancient campsites back to their original sources, hundreds, sometimes even thousands, of miles Hawaii. Think about that. Paleoindians, living a nomadic life, had a mental map of the landscape that included the location of these vital resources. They would either make long-distance treks specifically to these quarries or acquire the stone through vast trade networks that crisscrossed the continent. Let's take the Alabate's flint quarries in what is now Texas as an example. For thousands of years, people came here to gather a unique, multicolored flint. The stone from this one location has been found at archaeological sites all over the Great Plains in the Southwest. These quarries weren't just pits in the ground. They were important social and economic hubs. People would gather, exchange information, trade goods, and share knowledge. The journey to the quarry was as much a part of their culture as the tools themselves. It was a pilgrimage for the materials of life. Why walk so far? Because the quality of the stone directly translated to success. A well-made tool from superior stone meant a more successful hunt, better prepared hides for clothing and shelter, and a greater chance of survival. It was an investment in their future. Let's visualize the process. A toolmaker arrives at a quarry. They aren't just picking up loose rocks. They are using heavy hammerstones to break large chunks, or blanks, directly from the bedrock. They would test each piece, listening to the sound it made when struck, feeling its weight and texture. They were looking for stone free of cracks or inclusions that could ruin a tool during the final, delicate stages of flaking. They would often do the initial rough shaping right there at the quarry to lighten their load for the long journey home. Back at camp, the real artistry began, using a technique called pressure flaking. They would use an antler tine or a piece of bone to press off tiny, precise flakes, sculpting the final tool. Imagine the colors, the deep, glossy black of obsidian from a volcanic flow in Wyoming, the rich, marbled red and yellow of chert from the hills of Pennsylvania, the translucent, smoky gray of flint from a deposit in Ohio. These weren't just utilitarian objects. They were works of art. The patterns in the stone, the symmetry of the flaking, the sheer beauty of the finished pointed, all speaks to a deep connection and respect for the material. Each stone told a story, a geological history, millions of years in the making, and the toolmaker added a new chapter to that story with their own hands. So, when we look at a Paleoindian spear point, we're not just seeing a primitive weapon. We're seeing a culmination of geological knowledge, incredible skill, and immense effort. We're seeing the end result of a journey that could span a continent. These stones, flint, chert, and obsidian were the heart of their technology and a cornerstone of their society. They represent a profound understanding of the natural world and the ingenuity to transform it into the tools of survival. It's a powerful reminder that for our earliest ancestors, rocks weren't just rocks, they were life itself. Thanks for joining us on this geological deep dive. I hope you have a new appreciation for the stones that shaped human history. If you enjoyed this, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next chapter. We'll see you next time. In the heart of the vast windswept plains, a unique group of artisans held a place of immense respect. These were the master knappers, the sculptors of stone, whose skill was as vital to the tribe as the bravest hunter or the wisest elder. Their craft, Flintknapping, was more than just making tools. It was a sacred tradition, a direct link to their ancestors and the very land that sustained them. Imagine a young boy, barely old enough to track a rabbit, sitting cross-legged at his grandfather's feet. He's not playing games. He's watching, absorbing every detail. His eyes follow the old man's weathered hands as they move with a fluid, practiced grace. The grandfather holds a piece of flint, turning it over and over, reading its lines and fissures like a map. He's looking for its spirit, its potential. With a deer antler billet, he strikes the edge with a sharp, decisive crack. A flake of stone falls away, revealing a sharper edge. The boy watches, his own small hands mimicking the motion, learning the feel of the stone, the precise angle of the strike, the exact amount of force needed. This wasn't a formal lesson with lectures and tests. It was an apprenticeship of observation and imitation, a slow and patient transfer of knowledge passed down through countless generations. The elders would share stories as they worked, tales of the first napper who was taught by the spirits, or of a legendary spear point that brought down a great beast against all odds. These stories weren't just entertainment. They were the cultural fabric that wrapped around the practical skill, giving it meaning and purpose. A napper didn't just see a rock. He saw a story waiting to be told, a tool waiting to be born. The process itself was a conversation with the stone. Each type of rock, flint, chert, obsidian had its own personality. Some were cooperative, flaking off in predictable, beautiful patterns. Others were stubborn, full of hidden cracks and impurities that could shatter a nearly finished piece with one misplaced tap. A master napper had to understand this. He needed patience, intuition, and a deep respect for his material. He would often spend hours, sometimes days, just preparing a single core of stone, carefully removing the rough outer cortex and creating a platform from which he could strike perfect, uniform blades. This initial stage, the roughing out, was crucial. A mistake here could render the entire piece useless. It was a testament to foresight and planning, skills just as valuable on the hunt as they were at the napping site. Once the core was prepared, the real artistry began. Using pressure flaking, with a smaller, more pointed tool made of antler or bone, the napper would press tiny flakes from the edge of the tool. This was delicate, painstaking work. Each press refined the shape, sharpened the edge, and added the fine, serrated finish that made these tools so lethally effective. You could see the rhythm in their movements, a steady, focused pulse of pressure and release as the tools slowly emerged from the raw stone. The air would be filled with the quiet asterisk, tink, tink, tink asterisk of stone on bone. A sound as familiar to the camp as the crackling of the fire or the laughter of children. The tools they created were marvels of Stone Age engineering. They weren't just crude chunks of sharp rock. They were masterpieces of form and function. Spear points so perfectly balanced, they flew straight and true. Knives with edges sharper than modern surgical steel, capable of skinning a bison with incredible efficiency. Scrapers designed to fit perfectly in the hand, used by the women to clean hides until they were soft and supple. Every tool was custom-made for its purpose, a perfect marriage of practicality and aesthetic beauty. Some points, like the famous Folsom or Clovis points, had a distinctive flute, a long channel running up the base. Creating this flute was the most difficult and riskiest part of the process. A final, daring strike that could make or break the entire piece. A napper who could consistently create these fluted points was seen as a true master. Someone with a special connection to the stone and the spirits within it. These weren't just craftsmen. They were vital members of the community. A hunter was only as good as his spear point. A family could only stay warm if the hides were properly scraped and prepared. The napper's skill directly translated into survival, into food, shelter, and security for the entire tribe. Because of this, they were held in high esteem. When a successful hunt returned, the master napper who made the lethal points would be honored. He would often receive a choice cut of the meat, a tangible sign of the community's gratitude and respect. His tools weren't just objects. They were extensions of the hunter's will, the crucial link in the chain of survival. Young men would vie for the chance to learn from him, knowing that mastering this skill would guarantee them a respected place in the tribe. And it wasn't just about utility. There was a profound spiritual dimension to their work. Before starting on a particularly important piece, a napper might perform a small ritual, offering a prayer to the spirits of the stone and the animal that would provide the antler for his tools. He understood that he was part of a larger cycle. The stone came from the earth, the antler from the deer, and the finished tool would be used to sustain the people, who in turn respected and honored the earth. This deep, cyclical worldview was embedded in every flake he struck. The respect for tool makers also extended to the tools themselves. A well-made spear point wasn't disposable. If the tip broke, it would be carefully resharpened and reworked. Its life extended as long as possible. When it finally became too small to be useful as a point, it might be reshaped into a smaller tool, like an engraving burin or a drill. Nothing was wasted. This conservation ethic was born from a deep understanding of the effort and skill required to create each piece. To discard a tool carelessly was to disrespect the napper, the materials, and the entire tradition. In the archaeological record, we see this respect firsthand. Caches of magnificent, unused blades have been found, buried as offerings. These weren't tools for everyday use. They were works of art, created to be given back to the earth as a sign of reverence. They are a silent testament to the cultural and spiritual significance of Flintknapping. The master nappers of the plains were the keepers of an ancient fire, a flame of knowledge and skill that had been carefully tended for millennia. They were artists, engineers, and spiritual practitioners, all in one. Through their hands, the silent, unyielding stone of the earth was transformed into the very tools that allowed their people to thrive in a challenging world. Their legacy is not just in the beautiful points we find today, but in the enduring human spirit of innovation, artistry, and deep respect for the world around us. Thank you for watching. If you found this journey into the past fascinating, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more stories from our shared human history. Hello everyone, and welcome back to our journey into the world of ancient skills. Tonight, we're diving into Chapter 6, Preparing the Stone Core. This is the very first, and perhaps most crucial, step in creating a beautiful and effective spear point. Everything starts here, with a raw, unworked piece of stone. So, let's get started. The first thing you need to do is select the right material. Not every rock you find is suitable for flint. I'm looking for something with a fine, uniform grain, free from cracks or inclusions. Today, I've got a few pieces of high-quality flint to choose from. A good piece of stone has a certain feel to it, a certain weight. You develop an intuition for this over time, but there are a few tests you can perform right away. One of the most important tests is for sound. I'll take a small hammerstone, just another hard rock, and gently tap the core. Listen closely. Hear that high-pitched, clear ring. That's the sound I'm looking for. It tells me the stone is solid and homogeneous, without any hidden fractures that could ruin my work later on. A dull thud would be a bad sign, indicating a crack or a weak spot inside. This piece sounds perfect. It sings. That's a good sign. Next, I'll do a quick visual inspection. I'm turning it over and over in my hands, feeling the surface, looking at it from all angles under the light. I am checking for what we call chatter marks or incipient cracks. Tiny fissures that might not affect the sound but could cause the stone to break unpredictably when I strike it. This piece looks clean. It's got a good, solid shape to start with. A sort of blocky form that will give me plenty of material to work with. Now that I've chosen my core, the real work begins. The goal of this initial stage, called spalling or decortication, is to remove the rough outer layer. the cortex, and establish a basic shape. This cortex is often weathered and softer than the pristine stone inside, so eat us to go. This is also where I create the first striking platforms. The flat surfaces where I hit the stone to remove large flakes. I'm positioning the core on my leather pad, which protects my leg and helps absorb some of the shock. Safety is paramount here. I'm wearing safety glasses, and I recommend gloves for beginners. The flakes that come off this stone will be sharper than a surgical scalpel. You have to respect the material. I've chosen a larger, heavier hammerstone for this part of the process. I need mass and momentum to drive off these big primary flakes. The technique is all about the angle and the placement of the strike. I'm not just bashing it wildly. I'm aiming for a specific spot, just below the edge of a platform I've prepared. My goal is to send a wave of force through the stone that will detach a large, flat flake from the other side. Let's try. The first strike. I'm taking a moment to line it up. I see the path the flake will take. Here we go. You see that? A big, clean flake just peeled away, revealing the beautiful, glassy material underneath. Look at that surface. That's the good stuff. The sound of that strike is so satisfying. It's a sharp, cracking sound that echoes a little out here in the quiet of the evening. Now I'll rotate the core and look for the next spot. Each time I remove a flake, it creates new ridges and new angles. I have to read the stone to see where the next best strike will be. It's like a conversation. The stone tells me what it needs, and I respond with the hammerstone. You can see a rhythm developing. Tap, tap, check the angle. A firm strike. Then repeat. Tap, tap, strike. As I work my way around the core, a pattern begins to emerge. I'm removing the cortex and roughly shaping the stone into what's called a biface preform. It's still thick and lumpy. Nothing like a finished spear point yet, but the foundation is being laid. I'm essentially creating a blank canvas. I am getting rid of all the unusable material and setting myself up for the more delicate work that will follow in the next stages. Listen to the rhythm of the work. The steady, rhythmic tapping is almost meditative. Out here, with just the sound of the crickets and the crack of the stone, you can almost feel a connection to the past. You can imagine our ancestors sitting around a fire, doing this very same thing, the sound of their work echoing across the landscape. It's a powerful feeling. It's more than just a craft. It's a link to a time when these skills meant survival. Let's take a look at our progress. In just a short time, this rough, lumpy rock has been transformed. It now has sharp edges all around, and you can clearly see the beginnings of a pointed shape. I've established a central ridge line on both faces, which will be crucial for the next phase of thinning and shaping. I've removed a good pile of large flakes, which aren't waste material, by the way. Many of these flakes are useful tools in their own right, perfect for cutting or scraping. This process of preparing the core is all about power and control. It's about understanding the physics of how stone breaks, what we call conchoidal fracture. It's not just brute force. It's about applying force in exactly the right way, at the right place, to get the stone to do what you want. Every successful strike is a small victory, a moment of perfect communication between me, my tools, and the stone. We'll stop here for tonight. The core is now prepped and ready for the next chapter, where we'll move on to finer, more controlled flaking to begin thinning it down. We've taken a raw piece of nature and, through sound, strength, and skill, we've set it on the path to becoming a tool. Thanks so much for joining me for this step of the process. I hope you enjoyed seeing how a spear point begins its life. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter in our journey. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Welcome back to our series on ancient survival skills. In today's chapter, we're diving deep into the art of transforming a rough stone preform into a lethal, aerodynamic projectile point. This is Chapter 7, Thinning and Shaping the Body. Last time, we created our basic biface, the rough outline of our future tool. Now, the real magic begins. This is where brute force gives way to finesse and precision. The goal is to thin the stone, removing mass from the center and creating a lenticular, or lens-shaped, cross-section. This shape is crucial for both strength and aerodynamics. A thick, clunky point won't fly true and is more likely to break on impact. Our primary tool for this stage is the antler billet. These are typically made from the base of a deer or elk. Antler there, heavy, dense, and have just the right amount of give. Unlike a hard hammerstone, the softer antler absorbs some of the shock, allowing for more controlled flake removal. This is called soft hammer percussion. It lets us send force deeper into the stone, peeling off long, flat, thinning flakes that travel across the face of the point. Let's get started. I've got my preform secured on a leather pad on my leg. This cushions the stone and dampens vibrations. The first step is to prepare the edge. A sharp, thin edge will just crush under the blow of the billet. So, I'm using a small grinding stone to gently abrade or dull the edge where I want to strike. This creates a stronger, more stable platform that can withstand the force and guide the fracture. Now, watch closely. I'm selecting a spot on the edge that sits below the center line of the stone. This is key. By striking below the midline, the force is directed inwards and upwards, encouraging the flake to travel across the face and thin the piece, rather than just chipping off the edge. I'm aiming for a prominent ridge left by a previous flake removal. These ridges act like highways for the energy to travel along. I take a breath, focus, and strike. A quick, sharp, follow-through motion. There. Did you see that? A beautiful thinning flake detached, running almost halfway across the face of the point. It's incredibly satisfying when it works perfectly. You can hear the difference in the sound. A clean, crisp tick tells you the flake detached successfully. A dull thud means you've probably just crushed the edge. I'll flip the piece over and repeat the process on the other side, always working to maintain symmetry. It's a slow, deliberate dance. Prepare the edge, find the right spot, and strike. Each successful flake brings the point closer to its final form. You're constantly evaluating, feeling the thickness with your fingers, looking for high spots that need to be removed. It's problem solving in stone. If I create a step fracture, a flake that terminates abruptly, I have to work from the opposite side to try and remove it. As the point gets thinner and more refined, the risk of a fatal error increases. One misplaced strike, one hit that's too hard, and the entire piece can snap in half. Weeks of work can be lost in a split second. This is why experienced knappers are so calm and focused. Every movement is intentional. After several rounds of percussion thinning, the point is much lighter and has a much more streamlined profile. It's almost there, but the edges are still wavy and irregular from the billet strikes. To get that razor-sharp, perfectly symmetrical edge, we need to switch tools and techniques. This brings us to pressure flaking. For this, I'm using a pressure flaker, which is a piece of antler tine or copper set into a wooden handle. Instead of striking the stone, I'm going to apply steady, focused pressure to the edge. To press off small, precise flakes, this technique gives us ultimate control. First, I need to prepare the edge again, but this time I'm creating very fine, isolated platforms with my upper. I place the tip of the pressure flaker on one of these platforms, right at the edge. I'm bracing the stone firmly in my gloved hand. Now, I start applying inward and downward pressure. Primera lea, into it, building the force, until pop. A small, ribbon-like flake detaches from the underside. Look at the control this gives me. I can create a perfectly straight edge, refine the tip to a needle-sharp point, and shape the base for This is also how we create the notches, if we're making a notch a point like an arrowhead or spearhead. By applying pressure in specific spots, I can pop out small, curved flakes to form the barbs and the stem. This part of the process is incredibly meditative. It's just you, the stone, and the pressure. Each tiny flake is a decision. You're sculpting on a micro level, removing just a few grains of silica at a time. The final shape emerges slowly, flake by flake. The pattern of the pressure flakes, the flaking scar pattern, is not only functional, but can also be incredibly beautiful. It's the signature of the maker. And here we have it, from a rough piece of stone to a finished, deadly projectile point. It's thin, symmetrical, and wickedly sharp. The cross-section is a perfect lens shape, ensuring it will fly straight and penetrate deeply. Every surface, every edge, is the result of hundreds, if not thousands, of calculated decisions and precise actions. This process connects us directly to our ancestors. For thousands of years, this was a fundamental skill for survival. Making a tool like this wasn't just a craft. It was a necessity for putting food on the table and protecting one's family. When you hold a point like this, you're holding a piece of functional art, a testament to human ingenuity and perseverance. Thanks for joining me for this chapter. The skill and patience involved are truly humbling. Next time, we'll move on to the final step. Hafting our point to a shaft to create a complete spear or arrow. It's going to be another exciting one. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss it. See you then. Welcome back to our series on Paleoindian technology. Today, we're diving into Chapter 8, The Meaning of the Flute. If you've ever seen a Clovis point, you've probably noticed that distinctive channel running up from the base. That feature, my friends, is called a flute, and it's a hallmark of early American stone tool technology. It's what makes these points so iconic, so instantly recognizable. But what exactly is it, and why did they go to all the trouble to create it? First, let's get a clear picture. The flute is a long, shallow channel, or groove, that was deliberately struck from the base of the point, running partway up its length. Imagine taking a nearly finished spear point, carefully preparing a platform at the very bottom edge, and then delivering a single, precise blow to remove a long, thin flake. They often did this on both sides, creating a point that was noticeably thinner at its base. This wasn't a simple or easy task. It was the final and riskiest step in a long process. One wrong move, one misplaced strike, and the entire point-a-piece of high-quality stone that might have been carried for miles and worked on for hours could shatter. The fact that so many points were successfully fluted tells us that this wasn't just for decoration. This feature had a critical purpose, and the Paleoindians were absolute masters of this technique. So, why did they do it? The most widely accepted theory is all about hafting. That's the process of attaching the stone point to a spear shaft by thinning the base with the flute. The point could be seated more deeply and securely into a split in the wooden or bone foreshaft. The channel creates a perfect nesting spot. Without the flute, the base would be much thicker and more lens-shaped in cross-section, making for a weaker, bulkier connection. Think of it like this. You're trying to fit a round peg into a round hole. It is much easier and more stable if you can flatten the sides of the peg a little. The flute effectively flattens the base of the point, allowing the shaft to wrap around it more snugly. This creates a stronger, more streamlined, and more reliable joint. When you're hunting a Tenton mammoth, the last thing you want is for your spear point to wobble or break off on impact. The structural integrity of that connection was a matter of life and death. The flute provided that integrity. The hafting process would have involved more than just shoving the point into a stick. Paleoindians would have used sinew-tough connective tissue from animals to bind the point tightly to the foreshaft. They would also have used a type of prehistoric superglue, like pine pitch or asphaltum, to fill any gaps and lock everything in place. The fluted channel would have provided more surface area for this adhesive to grip, further strengthening the bond. Now, there are other interesting ideas about the flute's function, and they aren't necessarily mutually exclusive. Some researchers have suggested it was a form of shock absorber. The thin base might have allowed the point to flex ever so slightly upon impact with bone, reducing the chance of a catastrophic fracture of the point itself. It's a bit like how modern engineers designed crumple zones in cars. The flute could have been an ingenious way to dissipate kinetic energy and preserve the valuable tool. Another fascinating theory, though less supported, is that the flute was a blood groove. The idea is that the channel would allow blood to flow more freely from the wound, causing the animal to bleed out faster. While this is a popular idea in modern hunting knife lore, most archaeologists are skeptical. The channel is inside the hafting, so it wouldn't have been exposed to create a significant bleeding channel in the wound itself. The primary function almost certainly relates to the engineering of the weapon. Let's also consider the possibility of repair and maintenance. A spear point might get damaged and the hunta tip could snap off. By having a point securely hafted to a foreshaft, which was in turn set into the main spear shaft, the hunter could quickly replace a broken point. They could carry several pre-hafted foreshafts with them. After a throw, they could retrieve their main spear, pull out the broken foreshaft, and insert a new one in seconds. The flute's contribution to a secure hafting system would have been essential to this modular, repairable design. This efficiency would have been a massive advantage, and we can't completely discount the social or symbolic aspect. Creating a fluted point was a display of incredible skill. It was a signature of their culture. Perhaps the ability to consistently produce a beautifully fluted point was a mark of a master flintknapper, a respected individual within the group. It might have been a tradition, a way of doing things that was passed down through generations, connecting them to their ancestors and to each other. The flute might not just have been a functional solution. It could also have been a statement of identity, a symbol of who they were. Ultimately, the most compelling evidence points to hafting. The physics just makes sense. The flute is a brilliant engineering solution to the problem of attaching a stone point to a shaft. It created a weapon that was not only lethal but also durable and reliable. When you look at a Clovis point, you're not just seeing a sharp rock. You're seeing the product of a deep understanding of physics, materials, science, and engineering. The flute is the silent, elegant proof of their genius. So, the next time you see that iconic channel, remember what it represents. It's the solution to a high-stakes engineering problem, a feature that made the spear more deadly and dependable. It's a testament to the skill, ingenuity, and tradition of the first peoples of the Americas. It's so much more than just a groove in a stone. It's the very heart of Paleoindian technology. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe for our next chapter. The fire crackles, a steady companion in the quiet of the workshop. Here, surrounded by flakes of obsidian, sharp enough to split a hair, a story is being written. Not with ink, but with pressure and percussion. This is the art of flintknapping, a craft as old as humanity itself. And tonight, we are witnessing its most heart-stopping moment. The flute. For hours, this piece of obsidian has been my singular focus. It started as a rough, unpromising stone, its potential hidden beneath a weathered cortex. My first task was to see the blade within, to imagine the shape locked inside. Then, with careful, deliberate strikes, I began to peel away the excess. Each flake that fell was a calculated decision, a conversation between me, the stone, and the tools in my hand. I used a hammer stone to rough out the basic form, then switched to a softer antler billet for the finer thinning and shaping. The stone slowly transformed, its edges becoming sharper, its surface smoother. This process, this gradual reduction, is a dance of patience. You can't rush it. You can't force the stone to do something it doesn't want to do. You have to listen to it, feel its structure, and work with its internal tensions, not against them. Every tap sends vibrations through the rock, and a skilled napper learns to read those vibrations like a language. Now, after all that work, the biface is almost complete. It's thin, symmetrical, and sharp. It feels alive in my hands, a testament to the hours of concentration poured into it. But the journey isn't over. The most perilous step is yet to come. This is the moment of fluting, the signature of the Clovis point, one of the most iconic and mysterious artifacts of ancient America. The goal is to remove a long, channel-like flake from the base of the point, creating a groove. This flute likely helped in attaching the point to a spear shaft, making it a more effective and durable tool. But its creation is an act of supreme risk. Everything I've done up to this point, the careful shaping, the thinning, the grinding of the platform, has been in preparation for this single, decisive strike. The physics are unforgiving. The force of the blow has to be perfect. Too soft, and the flake will be short and stubby. A failed attempt. Too hard, and the shockwave will shatter the entire piece, turning hours of meticulous labor into a pile of useless fragments. It's an all-or-nothing proposition. There are no second chances. One strike, that's all you get. This is why so many finished Clovis points found by archaeologists show evidence of breakage during this final, crucial step. It's a stark reminder of how difficult this technique truly is. I take a deep breath, the firelight flickering across my face. The world narrows down to this single point of focus. The stone, the tool, and the space between them. I prepared a platform at the base of the point, grinding it carefully to create the perfect angle and surface for the strike. Tistini area no bigger than a pencil eraser will receive the full force of the blow. The energy will travel from that platform down through the center of the point, and hopefully detach a perfect, full-length flake. It's a controlled fracture, an act of guided destruction. My heart rate is steady, but there is a tension in the air, a palpable sense of anticipation. This is what knappers call the moment of truth. It's a quiet, internal battle against doubt and anxiety. Did I thin the base enough? Is the platform strong enough? Have I supported the point correctly? 1,000 questions run through my mind, but I push them aside. Now is the time for instinct, for muscle memory honed by countless hours of practice and countless failures. Every broken point is a lesson, and I've had many teachers. I'm using an indirect percussion technique. I place the tip of an antler tine precisely on the prepared platform. In my other hand, I hold a heavier antler billet, the hammer. The tine acts as a punch, concentrating the force exactly where I need it to go. This method gives me more control than a direct strike, but the margin for error is still raised. The angle of the punch, the way the point is supported underneath, the velocity of the hammer blow, every single variable matters. I settle the point into its support, a piece of soft wood with a groove carved into it. It needs to be held firmly, but with just enough give to absorb some of the shock. I braced my hand, holding the antler punch steady against the platform. I can feel the texture of the stone through the tool. A final, tactile check. The fire casts long shadows on the wall, and the only sound is the crackle of burning wood and the rhythm of my own breathing. In and out. In and out. I raise the billet. Time seems to slow down. In this moment, I am connected to a chain of artisans, stretching back over 13,000 years. I can almost feel them here with me, their collective knowledge guiding my hand. They faced this same moment, with the same materials, driven by the same need to create the perfect tool. The billet descends. There's a sharp, resonant cracker sound that is both terrifying and beautiful. It's the sound of the stone yielding, of the flake releasing. For a split second, I don't know the outcome. Did it work? Or is it all lost? I lift a point from its support and turn it over in my hand. My breath catches in my throat. There, running down the center of the face, is a clean, beautiful channel. The flute. It's perfect. The flake detached exactly as I had hoped, traveling nearly the full length of the point. A wave of relief washes over me, so profound it almost makes my knees weak. The tension that had been coiled in my shoulders for hours finally releases. I run my thumb gently over the smooth, concave surface of the flute. It's a feature of incredible elegance and function. This channel would have allowed the point to be seated deeply and securely within a split shaft, bound tightly with sinew. This wasn't just for looks. It was a brilliant engineering solution that made the spear more reliable and lethal. It was a technological advantage that may have helped early peoples thrive in a challenging new world. Now, I have to do it all again on the other side. The relief is short-lived, replaced once more by focused concentration. The second flute is just as dangerous as the first, if not more so. The point is now thinner and more fragile than before. A successful first flute is no guarantee of a successful second one. I've seen many beautiful points, perfect on one side, shudder with the final strike. So, I begin the preparation process again. I carefully grind a new platform on the opposite face, ensuring it's directly across from the first. Symmetry is key. The two flutes need to mirror each other to maintain the balance and structural integrity of the point. Once more, I check every angle, every surface. I place the point back in its support, take up the punch and billet, and find that place of quiet focus. The fire still dances. The shadows still play on the walls. The world is again reduced to this single, critical action. I steady my hand, take a breath, and strike. Another sharp crack echoes in the workshop. I hold my breath as I pick up the point, and there it is. A second flute, a mirror image of the first. The point is complete. It's thin, sharp, and perfectly balanced. It feels both dangerous and beautiful in my hand, a fusion of art and function. It's a Clovis point. Holding it, you can't help but feel a powerful connection to the past. This object is more than just a tool. It's a symbol of human ingenuity, resilience, and the timeless drive to create. From a rough piece of volcanic glass to this elegant, deadly weapon, it's a journey of transformation, a story told in stone. And it's a story that, after thousands of years, still has the power to captivate and inspire us. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Be sure to follow for more from the workshop. The workshop fell silent. Every eye was locked on the spear point, a piece of steel that had absorbed so much of our energy, our hopes, and our frustrations. For days, we had watched as it was heated, hammered, and quenched. Each step a gamble, each failure a lesson learned the hard way. Now, it rested on the anvil, poised for the final, most delicate operation. A hush descended, so profound you could almost hear the dust motes dancing in the sunbeams that sliced through the smoky air. The only sound was the gentle hiss of the cooling metal and the steady, rhythmic breathing of the master smith. He stood over the anvil, his presence filling the space. His movements were slow, deliberate, a stark contrast to the explosive energy of the forge. He wasn't just a craftsman, he was a conductor, and the steel was his orchestra. He picked up the specialized hammer, its polished face gleaming. This wasn't a tool for brute force, it was an instrument of precision. He checked the alignment of the spear on the anvil's specially prepared surface one last time. Everything had to be perfect. The temperature, the angle, the support every variable had been calculated and recalculated. Then he began. The first tap was surprisingly soft, a whisper of metal on metal. It wasn't a strike, but a suggestion, a coaxing of the steel. The sound echoed in the stillness, a single, clear note that hung in the air. He followed it with another, and another, each one perfectly placed, perfectly weighted. It was like watching a sculptor chip away at marble, except he was adding shape, not by removing material, but by persuading it to move. He was painting with pressure, composing a symphony with physics. We held our breath. Slowly, miraculously, something began to happen. A subtle change, a ripple on the surface of the steel. It started near the base of the spearhead, a faint line that began to creep upward. With each tap of the hammer, the line deepened, widened, and extended. It was a flute, a clean, perfect groove, rising from the metal as if it had been waiting there all along. It traveled up the spear point, smooth and flawless, dividing the plane of the blade with mathematical precision. The line was so straight, so crisp, it looked as though it had been drawn with a laser. No one spoke. We were mesmerized, caught in a state of quiet awe. The air was thick with unspoken admiration. We were witnessing more than just skilled labor. We were seeing a deep, intuitive understanding of a material's very soul. It was a kind of magic, but it was magic born of science. So, how was this possible? How can you create such a perfect groove in solid steel with just a hammer? It all comes down to a masterful manipulation of physics. The process starts long before the first hammer blow. It begins with heat treatment. The spear point was carefully and evenly heated to a specific, critical temperature. This isn't just about making the metal red, it's about changing its internal crystal structure. At the right temperature, steel becomes more ductile, more malleable. It's not soft like clay, but it becomes willing to deform under pressure without cracking. Controlling this temperature is key. Too cool, and the steel will be too brittle and might shatter. Too hot, and you risk ruining the temper or even melting the fine edge. This precise heating is the first secret. The second part of the equation is the platform preparation. The spear point wasn't just lying flat on the anvil. The anvil's surface, or a specialized tool called a swage, placed upon it, was prepared with a negative Schiappa convex curve that was the exact inverse of the concave flute he wanted to create. Think of it like a mold. When the spear point was laid on this curved platform, there was a small, intentional gap underneath the center line where the flute would be formed. This setup provides the necessary support for the surrounding metal, allowing the targeted area to be pushed downward into the void. Finally, there's the application of controlled force. The hammer he used wasn't just any old sledgehammer. It was a rounding hammer, or a specially dressed cross-peen hammer, with a face ground and polished to a specific radius. This is crucial. A flat hammer would simply flatten the steel, but the rounded face concentrates the force into a very small, focused area. When he struck the steel, he wasn't just hitting it, he was displacing it. Here's the physics in action. The rounded hammer face acts like a wedge, pushing the heated ductile steel downward. Because the steel is supported on either side by the anvil but has a gap directly underneath the point of impact, the displaced metal has nowhere to go but down into that prepared gap. It flows, almost like a thick liquid, filling the void and creating the concave flute on the top surface. The convex curve on the anvil simultaneously forms the underside. He moved the hammer with surgical precision, overlapping each blow just enough to create a continuous, smooth channel. Each tap pushed a little more material into the groove, extending it further up the blade. It's a delicate balance of force and finesse. Too hard, and you risk thinning the metal too much or causing a crack. Too soft, and the metal won't move. What we saw was the culmination of this knowledge. The steady rhythm of the hammer was a testament to years of practice, of developing a feel for the metal that goes beyond measurement. The smith could sense how the steel was responding under the hammer, adjusting the force of each blow by instinct. He was reading the metal's language, a silent conversation between man and material. The flute continued its journey, a perfect line ascending the spear. It was a testament to the idea that true mastery isn't about overwhelming a material with force, but about understanding its nature and working in harmony with it. The clean, crisp edges of the flute weren't cut. They were born from the steel itself, raised by pressure and heat. It was a structural feature that added rigidity to the blade, but it was also a thing of beauty, a line of grace on a tool of war. As the final tap landed and the hammer was set down, a collective sigh of relief and wonder rippled through the onlookers. The flute was complete. It ran from the base to the tip of the spearhead, a flawless channel that caught the light and seemed to flow like liquid mercury. It was perfect, in the silence of the workshop, surrounded by the gritty reality of coal dust and sweat. We had just witnessed an act of pure creation, a perfect fusion of art, science, and sheer human will. It was a moment that none of us would ever forget. The spear point was no longer just a piece of steel. It was a masterpiece, and the clean, perfect flute was its signature. This process is a beautiful metaphor for so many things in life. It shows that with the right preparation, a deep understanding of the fundamentals, and a controlled, precise application of effort, you can achieve results that seem impossible. You don't always need to tear things down or cut things away to create something new. Sometimes, the most elegant solution is to persuade what's already there to become something more. It's about shaping, not breaking. Think about the patience involved, the countless hours spent learning the properties of steel, the failures that led to a deeper understanding, the discipline to prepare every single element perfectly before even attempting the final act. That's where the real work is done. The final, seemingly magical result is just the visible outcome of all that unseen preparation. And that's the beauty of true craftsmanship. It looks effortless, even magical, to the untrained eye. But behind that effortlessness are thousands of hours of dedication. It's a powerful reminder that the most impressive achievements are often the result of a quiet, persistent, and intelligent process. The clean, perfect flute wasn't just made. It was earned. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the art and science of blacksmithing. If you found this as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content. Let me know in the comments what other traditional crafts you'd like to see explained. Until next time, stay curious. The fire has dwindled to a bed of glowing embers, casting just enough light to see by. Here, in the quiet heart of the night, the most delicate work begins. The rough shape of the point is done, forged by fire and force. Now, it needs a different kind of touch. This is the final chapter, the finishing of the edges, where a tool becomes a weapon, where crude stone becomes a masterpiece of survival. My hands cradle the obsidian point, its surface cool against my skin. The bulk of the work, the percussion flaking, is a loud, violent affair. It's a conversation of force, a shouting match between hammerstone and core. But this is different. This is a whisper. This is pressure flaking. I pick up my finishing tool, an antler tine lashed securely to a wooden handle. The tip has been worn smooth from countless hours just like these. It's an extension of my own hand, as familiar to me as my own fingers. I press it against the edge of the obsidian, finding the perfect purchase point. There's a subtle platform there, a tiny ridge left from the earlier work, waiting for this moment. The process is one of immense control and focus. It's not about striking. It's about pushing. I lean into the tool, applying steady, increasing pressure. My entire body is braced to my arm, my shoulder, my core. All my strength is channeled down through the handle into that single, tiny point of contact. For a moment, nothing happens. The stone resists. It's a silent battle of wills. And then, with a soft, crisp snap, a tiny flake detaches. It's no bigger than a fish scale, a sliver of black glass that arcs through the air and disappears into the dust. It's an incredibly satisfying sound, a release of tension that you can feel through the tool, up your arm and into your very bones. Where the flake was, a small, shallow scar is left behind, a negative bulb of percussion that thins the edge and sharpens the point. I shift my grip slightly, turning the point over in my hand. The process repeats. Find the platform. Position the tool. Apply pressure. The world narrows to this single point of contact. The sounds of the night, the rustle of leaves in the wind, the distant call of an owl, they all fade into the background. All that exists is the tool, the stone, and the pressure. Each flake removed is a deliberate decision. I'm not just randomly chipping away. I'm sculpting. I'm looking at the contours of the stone, feeling its thickness, planning my next move 3 steps ahead. I'm removing high spots, thinning the cross-section, and creating a razor-sharp serrated edge. It's a lot like the work of a dentist, meticulously shaping a tooth. The precision has to be absolute. A little too much pressure, and the tip can snap. The wrong angle, and a hinge fracture can ruin the entire piece. Days of work can be undone in a single, heartbreaking second. So, I work slowly, methodically. I alternate sides, flaking from one face and then the other. This creates a beautiful, symmetrical pattern of flake scars that ripple across the surface. It's not just for aesthetics. This pattern, this lenticular cross-section, is what gives the point its strength and aerodynamic stability in flight. I run my thumb gently over the edge I've just worked. It's already incredibly sharp, capable of slicing through hide with little effort. But it's not finished. The base needs to be shaped, notched, so it can be hafted securely to a spear or an arrow shaft. The tip needs to be honed to a needle-like point. The sounds are hypnotic, a soft scraping as I prepare the edge, abrading it slightly to create a stronger platform for the tool to bite into. Then, the intense silence of the applied pressure, followed by that crisp asterisk tink asterisk, or asterisk pop asterisk. As the flake releases, scrape, press, pop scrape, press, pop, a cadence that has been practiced by hunters for thousands of generations. It's a sound that connects me directly to them, a thread of knowledge and skill stretching back into the deep past. Under the soft glow of the dying fire, the obsidian glitters. The flake scars catch the light, creating a complex, almost liquid pattern. It looks like black water, frozen in mid. It's a thing of deadly beauty. As I work, my mind is calm, focused. This repetitive, precise task is a form of meditation. It clears the head of worries and distractions. There is only the here and now. The feel of the stone, the tension in my muscles, the soft sounds that break the stillness of the night. You learn to read the stone, to understand its language. You learn to feel where it wants to break, to cooperate with it, rather than just forcing your will upon it. Finally, after what feels like an eternity, but was probably only an hour, the final flake comes off the tip. I hold the point up, turning it in the firelight. It's perfect. The edges are straight and symmetrical, lined with tiny, sharp serrations. The tip is lethally sharp. The base is properly thinned and ready for notching. I set my tools down and lean back, a wave of satisfaction washing over me. The wind picks up, whispering through the trees, a cool counterpoint to the warmth of the embers. In my hand, I hold more than just a piece of sharpened rock. I hold food. I hold protection. I hold the culmination of knowledge, patience, and skill. This small, dark object represents the delicate balance between life and death. The razor's edge on which we all live, and tomorrow, when the sun rises, it will be ready. Thanks for joining me on this journey. If you found this process as fascinating as I do, be sure to follow for more. Welcome, bike history enthusiasts and makers. Last time, we explored the intense process of knapping our flint spearheads. But a point without a shaft is just a sharp rock. Today, in Chapter 12, we're diving deep into the art of crafting the perfect wooden spear shaft, a skill just as crucial and nuanced as Flintknapping itself. While our master knapper was meticulously shaping stone, other members of our prehistoric community were hard at work, transforming humble saplings into powerful tools. This is where the true strength and balance of the spear are born. Let's step away from the echoing sounds of striking stone and into the quieter, more rhythmic world of woodworking. The first and most critical step is selection. Not just any piece of wood will do. Our ancestors were expert botanists, understanding the unique properties of different trees. They would seek out young, straight-grained saplings, harvested while still green. Why green wood? Because it's pliable. It has a life to it that seasoned, dry wood lacks, allowing it to be bent and shaped without snapping. Ash, hickory, and you were often prized for their combination of flexibility and strength. You can imagine them walking through the ancient forests, their eyes trained to spot that one perfect sapling, straight and true, with minimal knots or branches. This initial choice would determine the spear's ultimate reliability. A poor choice here could mean a shattered weapon at the worst possible moment. Once the ideal sapling is harvested, the real work begins. The first task is straightening. Freshly cut saplings are rarely perfectly straight. They have natural curves and warps that need to be corrected. The process is a delicate dance with heat and pressure. The craftsperson would gently warm sections of the shaft over the glowing embers of a fire, not hot enough to scorch or burn the wood, but just enough to make the lignin and fibers inside pliable. You can almost smell the woody, slightly smoky aroma as the sapling warms up. Then, using their hands, knees, or perhaps a forked branch as a vise, they would apply steady pressure, bending the wood against its curve. It's a slow, patient process. You bend a little, check the alignment by sighting down the shaft, warm it again, and bend some more. This is repeated over and over, inch by inch, until the entire length is as straight as an arrow. It's a testament to their incredible patience and feel for the material. Rushing this step would only result in a weak, unreliable shaft. With the sapling straightened, the next step is to remove the bark. A wet, fresh bark layer can trap moisture, leading to rot, and it creates an uneven, uncomfortable grip. Using a sharp flint flake or a scraper, the artisan would meticulously peel away the outer and inner bark layers. It's a satisfying process, revealing the clean, pale wood beneath. You'd see long, thin ribbons of bark curling away as they worked their way down the shaft. This isn't just about aesthetics, it's about function. Removing the bark helps the wood to season evenly, reducing the chances of it cracking or warping later on. It also lightens the spear, making it faster and easier to handle. Every gram of unnecessary weight removed is a gram of speed gained. After the bark is gone, the surface is still rough. It's covered in tiny ridges, bumps, and leftover cambium. Now comes the smoothing. This was often done by rubbing the shaft with an abrasive material, like a piece of sandstone or even coarse horsetail reeds, which are naturally high in silica. Imagine the rhythmic, sanding sound, a soft rasping that continues for hours. The craftsperson would turn the shaft over and over in their hands, feeling for any imperfections. The goal is a surface that's not just smooth, but almost polished. This reduces friction as the spear flies through the air and, just as importantly, prevents splinters in the user's hands. A smooth grip allows for a more confident and powerful throw. This finishing work transforms the rough stick into a sleek, efficient tool. Now we have a straight, debarked, and smooth shaft, But we're not done yet. The final and perhaps most crucial part of shaping the wood is preparing it to receive the spearhead. This is a moment where the two separate craftsnapping and woodworking come together. The tip of the shaft needs to be perfectly aligned with the spear's central axis. If the point is even slightly off-center, the spear will wobble in flight, losing accuracy and power. The artisan would carefully carve a notch, or split the tip of the shaft. The shape of this cut would be precisely matched to the base of the flint point we crafted earlier. It needs to be snug, a perfect glove-like fit. This requires incredible precision, using a small, sharp flint blade to whittle away tiny shavings of wood. They would constantly offer up the stone point to the shaft, checking the fit and making minuscule adjustments until it's seated perfectly. Furthermore, the shaft itself needs to be tapered. A spear shouldn't be a uniform cylinder. For optimal balance and aerodynamics, it should be thickest and heaviest near the front, just behind the spearhead, and then taper gradually towards the back. This gives it a forward center of gravity, helping it fly straight and strike with maximum impact. The craftsperson would spend a great deal of time scraping and sanding the shaft to achieve this ideal profile, constantly checking the balance by resting it on their finger. They were, in effect, ancient engineers, intuitively understanding principles of physics that we now study in textbooks. Each shaving removed was a calculated decision to improve the weapon's performance. Think about the sheer amount of time and focused effort invested in a single spear shaft. It's a process of selection, heating, bending, scraping, smoothing, and precise carving. It highlights how these weren't just disposable tools. They were masterfully crafted pieces of technology, essential for survival. Every smooth, straight shaft tells a story of patience, skill, and a deep, intimate knowledge of the natural world. It's a beautiful fusion of natural materials and human ingenuity. The spearhead might be the business end, but the shaft is its soul. It's the delivery system, the flight mechanism, and the connection to the hunter's own body. Join us next time in Chapter 13, as we bring it all together. We'll explore the fascinating techniques and materials used for hafting, the art of permanently binding the stone point to its wooden shaft, creating the final, formidable, prehistoric spear. It's a step that involves natural glues, sinew wrappings, and ancient knots. You won't want to miss it. Thanks for watching, and if you're enjoying this journey back in time, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next chapter. Then, welcome back to our journey into the past, where we're crafting tools just like our ancestors did. Today, we're tackling one of the most crucial steps, hafting the spear point. This is where we transform a simple stone point and a wooden shaft into a formidable hunting tool. It's a process that requires patience, skill, and a deep understanding of natural materials. First, let's talk about our materials. We have our beautifully knapped stone point, a sturdy, straight shaft we've prepared, and the two key binding agents, natural tree resin, or pitch, and strong animal sinew. These materials were the superglue and duct tape of the ancient world, incredibly effective and readily available if you knew where to look. The first part of the process is preparing the adhesive. We've collected this golden, fragrant resin from a pine tree. Right now, it's hard and brittle. To make it usable, we need to gently heat it over the fire. We're not trying to boil it, just warm it enough to become a thick, sticky liquid. As it melts, you can smell that incredible pine scent filling the air, a smell that's as ancient as the forests themselves. We might also mix in a little crushed charcoal or beeswax. This isn't just for show. It adds body and strength to the pitch, making it less brittle once it cools and dries. It's an ancient recipe for a powerful epoxy. Now, we prepare the spear shaft. We've already carved a notch, or a split, into the end of the shaft. This is where the base of our stone point will sit. It's crucial that this fit is as snug as possible. We've spent time carefully shaping the wood to match the contours of the stone point's base. The better the fit, the stronger the final bond will be. A wobbly point is a weak point, and that could be a disaster during a hunt. With our pitch melted to a perfect, gooey consistency, it's time for the messy part. This stuff is incredibly sticky. It gets on your fingers, and it wants to stay there. This stickiness is exactly what we want for our spear. Using a small stick as an applicator, I'm going to generously coat the inside of the notch on the shaft. We want a good thick layer of this natural glue in there. I'll also apply some pitch to the base of the stone point itself. This ensures we have adhesive on every surface that'll make contact. Now, carefully but firmly, we press the stone point into the pitched notch. You have to work relatively quickly before the pitch starts to cool and harden. I am wiggling it back and forth slightly to make sure the pitch fills any tiny gaps and to get a secure, deep seat. You can see the excess pitch squeezing out around the base of the point, which is a good sign. It means we have excellent coverage. I'll use my finger to smooth this squeezed out pitch around the joint, creating a smooth, waterproof seal. But we're not done yet. The pitch is a great glue, but for maximum strength and shock absorption, we need to add another layer of security. A sinew wrapping. Sinew, which is the tendon from an animal like a deer, is an amazing material. When it's dry, it's stiff and hard. But when you soak it in water, or even just chew on it, it becomes soft and pliable, almost like a leather string. I have a few strands of sinew here that have been soaking. They're now flexible and slightly slimy to the touch. We're going to wrap these tightly around the base of the spear point, covering the area where the stone and wood meet. I'll start the wrap a little below the point, on the wood, and work my way up. Each wrap needs to be pulled as tight as possible. As I wrap, I'm overlapping the strands, creating a dense, strong binding. The wet sinew stretches as I pull it tight. This wrapping does two things. First, it physically clamps the wood of the shaft tightly onto the stone point. Second, and this is the really ingenious part, as the sinew dries, it will shrink. This shrinking process will pull the wrapping even tighter, creating an incredibly strong, vice-like grip that's almost impossible to break. It's a brilliant piece of ancient engineering. I'll continue wrapping until I have a solid, thick band of sinew holding everything in place. To finish it off, I'll tuck the end of the sinew under the last few wraps to secure it. Now, for the final step, drying. The whole assembly needs to dry completely for the haft to reach its full strength. The pitch needs to cool and harden, and the sinew needs to dry out and shrink. We can let it air dry, but our ancestors would have used the gentle heat of the fire to speed up the process. We don't want to put it directly in the flames, as that would burn the wood and sinew. Instead, we place it near the fire, a safe distance away where it can be warmed by the radiant heat. The warm firelight flickers across the new spearhead. You can feel the gentle warmth on your skin as you turn the spear slowly, ensuring it dries evenly. You watch as the wet, pale sinew gradually lightens in color and becomes translucent, tightening its grip. The dark, glossy pitch slowly loses its tackiness and hardens into a solid, rock-hard seal. There's something deeply satisfying about this process. Sitting by the fire, patiently watching the materials transform, it connects you to countless generations of hunters and craftspeople who sat by their own fires, doing this exact same thing. It's a slow, deliberate process, but the result is a tool that is both beautiful and deadly effective. A tool born from the earth, from the forest, and from human ingenuity. After a few hours of gentle drying, the process is complete. Look at that. The pitch is solid. The sinew wrapping is drum-tight and hard as a rock. That point is not going anywhere. We've successfully combined stone, wood, and animal tissue to create something far greater than the sum of its parts. This isn't just a sharp rock on a stick anymore. This is a spear, a tool that changed the course of human history, allowing our ancestors to hunt larger game and protect themselves more effectively. And that's how you have to spear point using ancient methods, from sticky, fragrant pitch to the incredible shrinking power of sinew. Every step is a testament to the resourcefulness of the people who came before us. Thanks for joining me by the fire for this chapter in our journey. If you found this fascinating, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you daren't miss what we get up to next. See you in the next video. The moon, nearly full, hangs like a polished stone in the black velvet sky, casting long, skeletal shadows across the valley floor. We move like phantoms through the tall grass, our bare feet making no sound on the cool earth. A profound silence envelops us, broken only by the whisper of the wind and the distant cry of a night bird. We are hunters, and tonight is a night of testing, a ritual as old as the stars above us. We are preparing for the great hunt, and every muscle, every sinew, every thought must be honed to a razor's edge. Ahead, the clearing opens up, a silvered circle under the moon's watchful eye. This is our practice ground. Here, we test not just our skill, but our connection to the tools that have sustained our people for generations. I run my hand along the smooth, familiar wood of my spear thrower. It's not just a piece of wood. It's an extension of my arm, an amplifier of my strength, a bridge between my intent and the world. We call it the ot. To an outsider, it might look simple as stick with a hook at one end, but to us, it is a marvel of physics and intuition, a gift from the ancestors. My companions find their places around the edge of the clearing, their silhouettes stark against the moonlit grass. There's no need for words. We communicate through shared purpose, through the slight nod of a head, the subtle shift of weight from one foot to another. The air is thick with anticipation, a quiet, electric hum that resonates within my chest. We are a brotherhood of the hunt, bound by blood, by ritual, and by the shared responsibility of feeding our families. I watch as Kale, the eldest and most experienced among us, steps forward. He knocks a spear onto his otlatl, the motion fluid and economical, a dance he has performed thousands of times. He stands for a moment, a statue carved from shadow and moonlight, his eyes fixed on an unseen point in the darkness at the far end of the clearing. He is not just looking, he is feeling the distance, tasting the air, becoming one with the night. He begins his throw. It's a symphony of controlled power. His body coils like a spring, starting from his feet, twisting through his hips and torso, and finally, unspooling through his shoulder and arm. The otlatl acts as a leva, a second elbow joint that dramatically increases the arc of his swing. Think of it like this. My arm alone can only move so fast, can only generate so much force. But the otlatl adds length, adding leverage. It's like extending my arm by another 2 feet. As my wrist snaps forward at the end of the throw, the tip of the otlatl whips through the air at a blistering speed, far faster than my hand could ever move on its own. This is the secret of the otlatl's power. It doesn't just add leverage, it stores and releases energy. As Caleb brings his arm forward, the spear shaft flexes, bending like a bow. It's storing potential energy. At the precise moment of release, as the spear leaves the hook, that stored energy is unleashed. The shaft straightens with explosive force, adding its own propulsion to the throw. It's a beautiful, deadly harmony of physics. The power of the throw is multiplied, not just doubled or tripled, but magnified in a way that allows our spears to fly farther, faster, and with more devastating impact than any simple hand-thrown spear ever could. Kale's spear leaves the otlatl with a soft thwip that is swallowed by the night. For a breathtaking moment, it seems to hang in the air, a silver needle stitching the darkness. The moonlight catches the fletching at its base, creating a fleeting, ethereal glow. We all watch, holding our breath, as it traces a perfect, high arc against the star-dusted canvas of the sky. It seems to move in slow motion, a graceful, silent predator arcing through the night. It climbs to its apex, a moment of perfect, weightless balance, before gravity reclaims it, pulling it back down in a swift, unerring descent. It lands with a solid thump deep in the darkness, the sound echoing back to us a moment later. A perfect shot. Now it's my turn. I step into the space Kale has vacated. I can feel the eyes of my brothers on me, not with judgment, but with support. I take a deep breath, filling my lungs with the cool, crisp air. I smell the damp earth, the sweet scent of night-blooming flowers, and the faint, musky odor of the game trails that crisscross the valley. I let the sounds of the night wash over me, becoming part of its rhythm. I raise my otlatl, feeling its familiar weight in my hand. I fit the knock of my spear into the hook, the connection snug and secure. My target is a weathered stump, barely visible in the gloom, but I don't need to see it clearly. I know its location by heart. I have thrown at it 1,000 times before. I close my eyes for a second, picturing the spear's flight, imagining the feel of it striking true. I begin the motion, letting my body flow into the throw. I try to emulate Kale's grace, his economy of movement. I pivot on the ball of my foot, my hips leading the way, my torso follows, and then my arm comes forward in a smooth, powerful sweep. The otlato sings as it cuts through the air. I feel the transfer of energy, that beautiful, kinetic chain reaction, flowing from the ground, through my body, into the tool, and finally, into the spear. The release is clean. The spear leaps from the thrower, a dark streak against the moon. I watch its flight, my entire being focused on that single point of light and shadow. It arcs through the night, a silent messenger carrying my will. The moonlight catches it, just as it did Kale's, transforming it from a simple weapon into a thing of transient beauty. It's a slow-motion ballet in the sky. I can almost see the air parting around the sharpened flint tip, the shaft spinning slowly, stabilized by the feathers. For that long moment, while the spear is in flight, the world seems to hold its breath. There is only the moon, the stars, and the silent, graceful arc of the spear. It feels like an eternity, a single, perfect moment stretched out in time. Then, the arc begins its inevitable curve back toward the earth. The spear descends faster and faster and strikes the stump with a satisfyingly solid impact. The sound, a dull thud, reaches me a heartbeat later. A confirmation of success. A quiet murmur of approval ripples through my companions. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding, a small cloud of white in the chilly air. I nod, a silent acknowledgement of their support and a private moment of satisfaction. But there is no time for celebration. This is practice. This is about repetition, about muscle memory, about achieving a state where thought is no longer necessary, where the body simply knows what to do. One by one, the others take their turns. Each throw is unique, a reflection of the hunter who casts it. Rorik's is all raw power, a low, flat trajectory that seems to scream through the air. Leaf's is more about precision, a higher, more calculated arc that drops with pinpoint accuracy. We watch each other, learning from each other's strengths and weaknesses. We are our unit, and the strength of the pack is the wolf, and the strength of the wolf is the pack. The otlatl is more than just a hunting tool. It's a symbol of our ingenuity, our ability to understand the world around us and use its principles to our advantage. It is a testament to the idea that true strength comes not just from muscle, but from intelligence and harmony with the natural laws of the universe. Holding it, you understand that you are part of a long chain of knowledge passed down through countless generations. As we continue our silent practice, a rhythm develops, the soft thwip of the release, the silent arc through the moonlight, the distant thump of the impact. It becomes a form of meditation, a way of emptying the mind and focusing purely on the physical act. We are testing our balance, not just the physical balance required for the throw, but the inner balance between focus and relaxation, between strength and grace, between the hunter and the hunted. Tonight, under the silent gaze of the moon, we are not just practicing a skill. We are reaffirming our place in the world. We are sharpening the tools and the spirit for the challenges that lie ahead. The great hunt awaits, and we will be ready. Our silent throws into the darkness, our promise a promise to our families, to our ancestors, and to ourselves. It's a promise of sustenance, of survival, of the continuation of our way of life, all whispered on the flight of a spear in the moonlight. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the world of the out. If you found this story captivating, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next chapter of our adventure. Your support helps us keep these ancient stories alive. Until next time, walk in balance. Welcome, Bike History Explorers. Today, we're journeying deep into the past, sitting around a Paleoindian fire that flickered over 12,000 years ago. When we think of this era, massive mammoths and sharp spear points often come to mind. But survival wasn't just about the hunt. It was about the incredible ingenuity that happened right here, in the heart of the camp. So, let us push aside the dramatic images of the hunt for a moment and look closer at the everyday tools that truly made life possible. Let's imagine the scene. The hunters have returned, a successful hunt providing food and raw materials. Now, the real work begins. The flickering firelight doesn't just offer warmth, it illuminates a workshop of innovation. Look around. This isn't just a campsite, it's a fully equipped processing center. The key to understanding Paleoindian life isn't just in their weapons, but in their complete and complex toolkit. These weren't simple people. They were master craftspeople, engineers of survival, using everything nature provided. First, let's pick up one of the most essential tools, the scraper. Don't let the simple name fool you. These weren't just rough rocks. They were carefully crafted implements, often made from high-quality flint or chert. A Paleoindian would hold a stone core in, with a precise strike from another stone, flake off a piece with a sharp, durable edge. This scraper was the key to unlocking the full potential of an animal hide. After the skin was removed, it was full of fat and tissue. Using a scraper, a person would meticulously work the inner surface of the hide, cleaning it completely. This was a tough, repetitive job, but it was absolutely crucial. An unclean hide would rot and become useless. Scrapers came in various shapes and sizes. Some were small for delicate work, others large and heavy-duty for bigger hides. Each one was a testament to the user's skill and understanding of their materials. Next to the scrapers, you'd find a variety of knives. Forget the metal blades we know today. These were masterpieces of stone, a craft known as Flintknapping. The most prized material was often obsidian or high-quality chert, which could be knapped to an edge sharper than modern surgical steel. These knives were used for everything. A long, thin blade was perfect for butchering meat, separating muscle from bone with precision. A smaller, more robust knife might be used for carving wood or bone. The creation of these blades was an art form. It required years of practice to understand how a stone would break and to control each strike perfectly. A Flintknapper was a respected and vital member of the community. Their ability to produce sharp, reliable knives was as important as a hunter's skill with a spear. These tools weren't disposable. They were maintained, resharpened, and valued. Now, let's look at a tool made not from stone, but from the animal itself, the bone awl. After a hide was scraped clean, it needed to be sewn into clothing, blankets, or shelter. But how do you poke a hole through tough, thick leather? You use a bone. Or Paleoindians would take a strong, dense bonofun from a deer's legand, grind one end down to a sharp, piercing point. It was a simple, yet brilliant invention. With this tool, they could puncture holes in the hide, then thread sinew or cordage through two stitch pieces together. This allowed them to create tailored clothing, providing essential protection against the harsh Ice Age climate. From fitted tunics to warm leggings and moccasins, the bone awl was the needle of the Paleolithic world, turning flat hides into three-dimensional, life-sustaining gear. It represents a key principle of Paleoindian life. Waste nothing. Every part of the animal had a purpose. Finally, we come to the hide softener. Once a hide was cleaned and scraped, it would dry as stiff as a wooden board. This is where another set of tools came in. One common method involved using a rounded, smooth stone or a piece of porous, gritty rock like sandstone. The hide would be stretched and rubbed vigorously with this tool, a process that breaks down the stiff fibers within the leather. It was a physically demanding task, often taking hours of continuous work. Another tool used for this was a beamer, often made from the cannon bone of a deer. The hide would be draped over this smooth bone, and a duller scraping tool would be used to work it back and forth, making it soft and pliable. This final step transformed a raw, stiff skin into comfortable clothing, soft bedding, and flexible material for bags or shelter coverings. The difference between a raw hide and a softened one was the difference between mere survival and actual comfort. So as we look at this collection of tool scrapers, knives, awls, and softeners, a new picture of Paleoindian life emerges. It's a picture not just of mighty hunters, but of skilled artisans, patient workers, and resourceful engineers. Survival depended on this intricate toolkit, where every object had a specific function and was crafted with immense knowledge. The fire was the center of the home, and around it these tools were the instruments that turned the raw wealth of the hunt into the necessities of daily life. They built a world not with bricks and mortar, but with stone, bone, and sheer ingenuity. The legacy of these tools is profound. They represent the cognitive leap that allowed our ancestors to thrive in challenging environments across the globe. They show us that technology isn't just about computers and smartphones. It's about finding clever solutions to fundamental problems. The next time you see a spear point in a museum, remember that for every one of those, there was a whole suite of other tools back at the camp, quietly and efficiently making life possible. The story of humanity is written not just in the weapons we used, but in the tools we created to build a better life, one sharpened stone at a time. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into the past. I hope this has given you a new appreciation for the incredible skills of our Paleoindian ancestors. If you enjoyed this journey, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next adventure into history. See you next time. The sun dips below the horizon, painting the vast, icy landscape in hues of orange and purple. As the last rays of sunlight fade, a new light flickers to life, a beacon of warmth and community in the sprawling prehistoric wilderness. This is our home, centered around the lifeblood of our clan, the campfire. Welcome to our world, a glimpse into life as it was tens of thousands of years ago. The air, crisp and cold, carries the tantalizing aroma of roasting meat. Chunks of mammoth, skewered on sturdy branches, sizzle and pop over the dancing flames. The fat drips down, hissing as it hits the hot embers, releasing a mouth-watering scent that draws everyone closer. This is more than just a meal. It's the culmination of a successful hunt, a testament to our strength and unity. Each person here played a part, from the brave hunters who faced the colossal beast to those who skillfully butchered the carcass, ensuring nothing went to waste. The fire not only cooks our food, making it safe and delicious, but it also keeps the lurking dangers of the night at bay. In its golden glow, we are safe, we are together, and we are well. As we gather, bellies full and hearts content, the real magic of the evening begins. Old Gov, his face a roadmap of wrinkles, each one telling a story of seasons past, clears his throat. His voice, though raspy with age, holds the attention of every single person, from the youngest child to the most seasoned warrior. He begins to speak, not with words as we know them, but with a rich tapestry of sounds, gestures, and expressions that paint vivid pictures in our minds. He tells the story of the great hunt, his hands mimicking the powerful thrust of a spear, his eyes widening to show the immense size of the mammoth. He grunts and stomps, becoming the beast itself, and then with a swift, dramatic motion, he shows its final fall. The children watch, mesmerized, their imaginations ignited. These stories are not just entertainment. They are our history, our knowledge, our survival guide. They teach the young ones how to track, how to hunt, and how to respect the spirits of the animals that give us life. They remind us of our ancestors, the great heroes who walked this land before us, and they connect us to a lineage stretching back through countless generations. Another elder, a woman named Elera, shares a different kind of tale. Her story is quieter, a gentle melody of clicks and soft tones. She speaks of the spirits of the earth, of the changing seasons, and of the first flower that blooms after the long, hard winter. She teaches us which plants can heal our wounds and which berries are safe to eat. Her stories are the soul of our tribe, nurturing our connection to the world around us, reminding us that we are part of a much larger, living web. Through these nightly rituals, our culture is passed down, our bonds are strengthened, and our collective memory is kept alive, burning as brightly as the fire before us. Look over there, by the edge of the firelight. See the little ones. They aren't idle. Their small hands are busy with tiny, sharp flakes of flint, remnants from the tool-making of the adults. They mimic what they see their parents do, chipping away at smaller stones, learning the feel of the material, the precise angle needed to create a sharp edge. It looks like play, and in many ways, it is. Their laughter rings out as they compare their creations, but this is also their first lesson in a craft that will one day be essential for their survival. They are learning patience, dexterity, and the fundamental principles of technology. One young boy, his brow furrowed in concentration, manages to flake off a perfect, leaf-shaped point. He holds it up proudly for his mother to see, his face beaming. She smiles and ruffles his hair, a gesture of approval that will fuel his desire to learn more. These small stone flakes are their toys, but they are also their schoolbooks. Through this playful practice, they are being prepared for the day they will craft their own spearheads, their own knives, their own tools for building a future. It's a beautiful, organic way of learning, driven by curiosity and guided by the ever-present example of their elders. The work of the clan is never truly done, not even after the sun has set. While the storytellers weave their magic in the children play, other members of the tribe are focused on a different, equally vital task. By the steady light of the fire, men and women sit together, their hands deftly working with bone needles and sinew thread. They are mending our clothes, thick hides taken from the mammoths we hunted. These garments are our armor against the biting wind and the unforgiving cold. A small tear, if left unfixed, can become a gateway for frostbite, a life-threatening danger in this frozen world. A woman carefully stitches a patch over a worn spot on a child's tunic, her movements practiced and efficient. Nearby, a man reinforces the seams on his own boots, ensuring they will withstand the long treks across snow and ice. There's a quiet camaraderie in this shared activity. They talk softly, their voices a low hum beneath the storyteller's narrative. They share techniques, pass tools back and forth, and work in a comfortable, collaborative rhythm. This is not seen as a chore, but as an act of care for themselves and for each other. Each stitch is a prayer for warmth, a thread of resilience woven into the fabric of our community. It's in these simple, focused moments that the strength of our clan is truly revealed. Now, take a step back and see the full picture. The fire crackles at the center, a vibrant heart pumping warmth and light into the darkness. Around it, different circles of activity unfold, all interconnected, all essential. The sizzle of the cooking meat, the rhythmic voice of the storyteller, the cheerful chatter of the children, and the quiet industry of those mending clothes, it all blends together into a symphony of survival, a portrait of life. This is community. This is family. We rely on each other for everything. The hunter depends on the toolmaker, the child depends on the caretaker, and everyone depends on the storyteller to preserve our identity. There are no isolated individuals here. We are a single, Koisabe. Unit, moving and breathing as one. The warmth of the fire is more than just physical. It's the warmth of belonging, of shared purpose, of knowing that you are part of something larger than yourself. In this harsh, unforgiving world, this connection is our greatest strength. It's what allows us to not just survive, but to thrive. As the flames begin to die down and the embers glow like sleeping red eyes, a sense of peace settles over the camp. The children, their eyelids heavy, are bundled into warm furs. The stories have ended, but their lessons linger in the air. The mended clothes are folded, ready for the morning. One by one, we retreat into our shelters, the warmth of the fire still clinging to our clothes and our skin. The day's chapter is closing, but we know that tomorrow, the sun will rise again. We will hunt, we will gator, we will work. And when darkness falls, we will come together once more around this sacred fire, the enduring heart of our world. Thank you for joining us on this journey back in time. If you found this glimpse into the past as fascinating as we do, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more chapters of human history. See you next time. Let's rewind the clock. Way back. Forget cities. Forget cars. Forget everything you know about America. We're going back to the Ice Age, a time when the continent was a vast, wild, and truly epic landscape. Imagine stepping out of a time machine into a world that's both familiar and fantastically alien. The air is crisp, cold, and clean. Rolling grasslands, what we call steppes, stretch to the horizon, dotted with groves of spruce and pine trees. In the distance, colossal glaciers, mountains of ice, miles high, glisten under the sun, their sheer scale almost impossible to comprehend. This isn't the America of today. This is a land of giants. Look over there, grazing peacefully. Those aren't elephants. They're Colombian mammoths, towering creatures with immense, curving tusks. A big male could stand 13 feet tall at the shoulder and weigh over 10 tons. They travel in herds, their deep rumbles echoing across the plains. And they're not alone. Sharing these grasslands are herds of ancient bison, Bison antiquus. These weren't your average buffalo. They were larger, with longer, straighter horns, built to withstand the harsh climate and formidable predators. Herds numbering in the thousands would thunder across the landscape, a force of nature in themselves, shaping the very ground they walked on. The ground trembles not just from herbivores. This world is ruled by predators of incredible power. Lurking in the tall grasses is the infamous saber-toothed cat, Smilodon. It's not a tiger, but something else entirely. Built like a bear on steroids, with powerful forelimbs and those terrifying 7-inch canine teeth. It's an ambush predator, designed for taking down big game. They likely hunted in social groups, like lions, using their strength and those knife-like teeth to inflict devastating wounds on their prey. And they're not the only super predator. The American lion, even larger than the African lions we know today, prowled these lands, a true king of beasts. And then there were the wolves, but not just any wolves. Dire wolves. Made famous by pop culture. These were real animals, heavier and more robustly built than modern gray wolves, with a more powerful bite. They roamed in large packs, a relentless and intelligent hunting machine, capable of running down and overwhelming even large prey through sheer numbers and coordination. Add to this menagerie giant short-faced bears, standing nearly 6 feet at the shoulder on all fours, and weighing close to a ton. They were possibly the largest mammalian land carnivore of the time, capable of stealing kills from any other predator. This was a world of constant tension, a high-stakes drama of survival playing out every single day. Into this world of titans, a new player arrived. Humans. They didn't have massive claws, thick hides, or overwhelming strength. They had something different. Intelligence, cooperation, and technology. And their key piece of tech was a game-changer. The spear point. Now, these weren't just sharpened sticks. The earliest Americans were master craftsmen. They created what we now call Clovis points, beautifully fluted spearheads made from stone-like flint, chert, and obsidian. A Clovis point is a marvel of engineering. It's leaf-shaped, sharp on both edges, and features a distinctive groove, or flute, at the base. This flute was a brilliant innovation. It allowed the point to be attached securely to a wooden shaft, creating a strong, stable, and deadly weapon. Finding the right stone was the first step. These early hunters knew the landscape intimately. They knew where to find the best quality rock. Then came the hard part, knapping. This is the process of shaping stone by carefully striking it with another stone or a piece of antler. It's an art form that takes incredible skill and patience. One wrong strike, and hours of work could be shattered. The napper would first shape the general form of the point, then switch to finer tools for pressure flaking, pressing off tiny flakes to create razor-sharp edges. The final, crucial step was creating that flute, a difficult and risky technique that, if successful, produced a superior spear. So, how do you hunt a 10-ton mammoth with a stone-tipped spear? You don't do it alone, and you don't do it head-on. These were strategic, intelligent hunts that required deep knowledge of animal behavior and the environment. A lone mammoth, perhaps one that was young, old, or separated from the herd, would be the ideal target. Hunters might use the landscape to their advantage, driving the animal into a bog, a narrow ravine, or up against a cliff where its movement was restricted. This is where teamwork was essential. The group would encircle the trapped animal, creating a wall of noise and threat with shouting and waving torches. The goal was chaos and confusion. Then, the bravest hunters would move in. The weapon of choice wasn't necessarily a throwing spear. While some spears could be thrown, especially with the help of a spear thrower called an atlatlut, which we'll discuss later, many of these large spears were likely used as thrusting lances. The otlot, essentially a leva for your arm, could dramatically increase the power and distance of a thrown spear, making it a formidable projectile weapon. But for a giant, like a mammoth, getting close was key. The hunters would dart in, aiming for vulnerable spots, the soft underbelly, the area behind the shoulder, trying to pierce the thick hide and reach vital organs. The Clovis points were designed to create deep, bleeding wounds. The idea wasn't necessarily a single, instant kill shot. It was a death by 1,000 cuts. The hunters would wound the animal, retreat, and track it, letting blood loss and exhaustion do the work. It was dangerous, terrifying work. One misstep, one swing of a tusk or a trunk, and a hunter's life could be over in an instant. The evidence for these hunts is written in stone and bone. Archaeologists have found Clovis points embedded in the skeletons of mammoths and ancient bison. At sites like the Naku Mammoth Kill site in Arizona, multiple spear points were found among the bones of a single mammoth, a silent testament to a coordinated group hunt that took place nearly 13,000 years ago. These finds are incredibly powerful. They are frozen moments in time, connecting us directly to these ancient people and their struggle for survival in a world of giants. A successful hunt was a monumental event. It wasn't just food, it was everything. A single mammoth could feed a group for weeks. Its hide would provide shelter and clothing. Its bones and tusks could be carved into tools, needles, and even art. Nothing was wasted. The relationship between these first peoples and the megafauna was complex. They were both hunter and hunted, living in a delicate and often brutal balance. For thousands of years, this drama played out across the vast, icy plains of ancient America. But this world wasn't destined to last. As the Ice Age drew to a close, the climate began to warm. The great glaciers retreated, and the landscape changed forever. The world of the mammoths and saber-toothed cats vanished, leaving behind only fossilized bones and the elegant, deadly stone points of the hunters who shared their world. By studying these remnants, we piece together the story of this lost American landscape, a truly epic chapter in the history of our continent. Thanks for joining me on this journey back in time. If you found this fascinating, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the past. Let me know in the comments which Ice Age animal you find the most incredible. See you next time. The fire crackles, a small sun in the heart of the longhouse. Its light dances on the faces gathered close, young eyes wide with a quiet reverence. They watch the old man, his hands maps of 1,000 hunts, 100,000 winters. He holds a piece of flint, darkened cold, and a tool of antler, worn smooth by his grip. The air is still, thick with the scent of wood smoke and the faint, earthy smell of stone. This is not just a lesson. This is a ceremony, a passing of something more vital than breath. He doesn't speak at first. He simply holds the stone, turning it over and over, his calloused thumb tracing its sharp edges. He wants them to see, to understand that this is not just rock. It is potential. It is a future meal, warmth for the clan, a defense against the lurking dark. It is life, waiting to be coaxed out. He brings the flint close to his face, his breath a soft mist in the cool air. He is listening to the stone, feeling its secrets, its hidden lines of power. Then his voice comes, a low rumble like distant thunder, soft yet carrying through the silence. See how I hold it? Not with force. You do not fight the stone. You persuade it. Your fingers are a nest, a cradle. It must be secure, but not trapped. Feel its weight. It wants to tell you where it is weak, where it is strong. You must learn its language. This antler, this flaker, is not a hammer. It is your voice. It is how you speak to the stone. He positions the antler tip precisely on the edge of the flint. Now, breathe. Let the air fill you, slow and deep. And as you let it out, that is when you press. Not a strike, not a hit, a push. A firm, confident push. It is a conversation. You are asking the stone to give you a piece of itself. You must be patient. You must be respectful. The stone will not yield to anger or haste. It only yields to understanding. A sharp crack, like a twig snapping underfoot, breaks the silence. A flake, thin and sharp as a sliver of ice, falls onto the leather mat at his feet. He picks it up, holding it to the firelight. See, it is a perfect blade, sharp enough to skin a deer, precise enough to carve a needle from bone. It was always there, inside the stone. We just had to ask for it properly. He looks at the young faces, their expressions a mixture of awe and concentration. The knowledge is a seed. Tonight, he is planting it. He hands a piece of flint to the boy beside him. Your turn. Don't be afraid to fail. Every broken point teaches you something. Every failed attempt is a step closer to success. Close your eyes for a moment. Feel the cold of it. Imagine the arrowhead sleeping inside. Wake it up. Your breath is the key. Let your breathing guide your hands. Slow. Steady. Let the rhythm of your heart become the rhythm of your work. The boy mimics the old man's grip, his young hands still clumsy, uncertain. He presses. Nothing happens. He presses harder, his brow furrowed in frustration. The old man places a gentle hand on his shoulder. Softa. You are shouting at the stone. Whisper Toita, Italiano. Find the right spot. Feel for the ridge. It is like a path. Follow the path. Trust your fingers. They will learn to see what your eyes cannot. Another try. This time, the boy closes his eyes, his breathing evening out. He shifts the antler tip. A tiny adjustment. He exhales, and with a soft click, a small flake detaches. It is not perfect, not like the old man's. It is thick and uneven, but it is a beginning. A smile, slow and bright, spreads across the boy's face. He looks at the flake in his palm as if it were a jewel. The old hunter nods, a deep satisfaction in his eyes. Yes, that is it. That is the feeling. Remember that feeling. It is a connection between you, the stone, and the spirit of the hunt. This is more than making tools. It is about understanding the world around you, understanding your place in it. Everything has a spirit, a will. The stone, the deer, the river. When we work with them, we must do so with respect. He looks around the circle of young hunters, their faces illuminated by the dancing flames. This knowledge, he continues, his voice now even softer. It is a gift from our ancestors. They learned it from their ancestors, who watched the frost split the rocks and the lightning splinter the trees. It is a long unbroken chain, and now I pass it to you. You are the next link. It is your duty to learn, to practice, and one day to teach your own children around a fire, just like this one. To fire pups, sending a shower of sparks toward the smoke hole in the roof. They look like stars, fleeting and beautiful. This is how we survive, not just with sharp points and strong bows, but with the sharing of wisdom, with the patience to teach and the humility to learn. Never forget that. The sharpest tool you will ever possess is not in your hand. It is behind your eyes. It is the knowledge that has been passed down, generation after generation. Hold it carefully, keep it sharp. Thank you for listening, and may your hands always be steady. The day's last light surrenders to the horizon, painting the sky in deep shades of purple and indigo. A profound stillness settles over the land, a quiet that feels ancient and absolute. Here, huddled around the glowing heart of a dying fire, the hunters rest. The flames, once a roaring blaze of orange and yellow, have softened into a gentle, pulsing bed of embers. They cast a warm, soft light on the weary faces of those gathered, a small circle of warmth and safety against the vast, dark wilderness. Beneath heavy animal hides, bodies that have toiled since sunrise finally find their repose. Muscles ache with the memory of the day's long trek, of stalking prey through dense forests and across open plains. The air, crisp and cool, carries the scent of pine and damp earth, a familiar perfume of their world. A few scattered stars begin to pierce the velvet canopy above, distant and shimmering, silent witnesses to this nightly ritual of rest and renewal. Beside the fire, a row of newly crafted spear points lies cooling in the dirt, chipped from flint with practiced, patient hands. Their edges are lethally sharp, gleaming faintly in the ember light. Each point is a testament to skill, passed down through generations, a symbol of foresight and preparation. They are the tools of survival, the promise of tomorrow's hunt. The very extension of human will into a world that is both provider and peril. The day was long. The work was hard. But tonight, there is a quiet satisfaction in this small arsenal, ready for whatever the new dawn might bring. The sounds of the night begin their subtle symphony. The gentle hoot of an owl from a distant tree. The rustle of leaves stirred by a passing breeze. The almost imperceptible crackle of the cooling embers. These are the lullabies of the wild. Sounds that speak not of danger, but of a world settling into its own slumber. For the hunters, these sounds are as familiar as their own heartbeats. A comforting rhythm that has accompanied their sleep for countless nights. One of the men shifts under his hide, his hand instinctively reaching for the spear that lies beside him. A constant companion. His fingers trace the smooth, worn wood of the shaft, a silent reassurance in the dark. His thoughts drift, not to the dangers of the day past, but to the possibilities of the day to come. He pictures the great beasts they will track, the winding rivers they will follow, the unseen landscapes they will explore. It is a life lived on the edge, a constant dance with uncertainty. But it is also a life of profound connection to the world around them. The fire breathes its last, a final, soft pulse of orange that flickers and then fades into the darkness. The embers are now just a hint of warmth. Their light extinguished, the spear points have cooled completely. Their sharp edges now just cold, hard stone, waiting for the hands that will wield them. The world is bathed in the soft, silver light of the moon, which has risen high in the sky, casting long, faint shadows across the camp. In this deep, quiet moment, there is a sense of peace that transcends the physical exhaustion. It is the peace of knowing that they have survived another day, that they have provided for their clan, that they have faced the challenges of their world and emerged victorious. This small band of humans, armed with little more than stone, wood, and their own unbreakable spirit, represents a flicker of ingenuity in the vast darkness of prehistory. Their perseverance is written in the calloused hands that shaped the stone and the weary limbs that carried them across miles of untamed land, and in a quiet determination that will see them rise with the sun to do it all again. They are not just hunters. They are pioneers, explorers, and survivors. They are the ancestors whose resilience is woven into the very fabric of our own being. Sleep begins to claim them, one by one. The rhythmic breathing deepens, a soft chorus that merges with the gentle sounds of the night. Dreams will soon take them. Perhaps to hunts of the past, or hunts yet to come, to familiar faces around a distant hearth, or to the vast, star-strewn sky that watches over them. They sleep the deep, dreamless sleep of the truly tired, a rest earned through sweat and struggle. The camp is now fully submerged in the quiet of the night. The hides are still, the spears lie untouched, and the ashes of the fire are cold. Oli Silen, save for the whisper of the wind through the trees and the distant call of a night creature. It is a scene of profound tranquility, a snapshot of life thousands of years ago, a moment of rest before the endless cycle of struggle and survival begins anew. This quiet, this stillness, is more than just the absence of noise. It is a moment of recharge, a sacred pause in the relentless rhythm of life. It is here, in the deep dark of the night, that strength is gathered, that resolve is hardened, and that the human spirit finds the will to continue. The fire may have faded, but the spark of humanity, of ingenuity, of sheer, stubborn perseverance, glows brightly in the hearts of these sleeping hunters, ready to be fanned into a flame with the coming of the dawn. And as they sleep, the world turns, the stars wheel across the sky, and the promise of a new day inches ever closer. A day that will bring new challenges, new opportunities, and another chance to prove that even in a world of giants and shadows, the spirit of humanity is a force to be reckoned with. The journey is long, and the path is often hard. But for now, there is only rest. There is only the deep, comforting quiet of the night. Sleep well.